Rain streaked down the glass walls of the 23rd floor, blurring the city into silver lines. Inside the conference room, everything was sharp, polished wood, cold lights, quiet tension. Ethan Blackwood stood at the head of the table, suit flawless, jaw tight, eyes distant. Billionaire.
Excuse me, do you have
a
moment
man
to
who
discuss this
decided
proposal?
futures between sips of espresso. Across from him sat a woman gripping a worn folder like it might fall apart in her hands. Her coat was thin, her hair pulled back in a tired knot. She kept glancing at the door, as if ready to apologize for being there at all. Ethan skimmed her resume, already certain this interview would be quick. He didn't know her name yet. He didn't know her life. And he had no idea that this single mistake, calling in the wrong candidate, was about to change both of them forever. Before we go any further, let me ask you something quietly personal. Where are you listening from right now? Your room, a bus, a late-night shift somewhere.
Excuse me, do you have a moment
Stories
to
like
discuss
this travel
proposal?
farther than we expect. Drop your city in the comments. It's comforting to know we're not alone while listening. The assistant cleared her throat. Mr. Blackwood, this is Lily Carter. Ethan nodded without looking up. You have 10 minutes, he said flatly. Lily flinched, then straightened her shoulders. That's more than enough, she replied, her voice soft but steady. She began speaking about administrative work, about adaptability, about learning fast. Her words were careful, practiced. But Ethan wasn't listening. He was thinking about stock prices, a board call at noon, a flight to Zurich by nightfall.
Excuse me, do you have
He
a moment
glanced
to
at her
discuss this
resume
proposal?
again and frowned. Ms. Carter, he interrupted, this position requires a master's degree. Lily swallowed. I know. I don't have one. Silence thickened the room. Then why are you here? Ethan asked, finally looking at her. Her eyes met his. They were tired eyes, but not weak ones. Because I was told this interview mattered, she said, and because I needed to try. Something in her tone slowed him. Not desperation, resolve. You're aware this is a senior executive assistant role, he said. Yes. And you're currently employed? She hesitated.
Excuse
Part-time.
me, do you have a moment to
Nights.
discuss this proposal?
Ethan leaned back, fingers steepled. You understand I can't bend standards. Lily nodded. I'm not asking you to. That answer landed oddly. Most people begged, explained, promised. She didn't. Then what are you asking? He said. She looked down at her folder, then opened it. Inside were not certificates, but schedules. School calendars. Hospital bills. Childcare notes. I'm a single mother, she said quietly. My son, Noah, is 8. He's brilliant. Loves space. But he has a heart condition. I work nights so I can be home mornings. I applied
me, do you
because
have a
this
moment to
job,
discuss this
it would
proposal?
let me be present and still survive. Ethan's expression hardened, not with anger, but distance. I'm sorry, he said, the words automatic. But sympathy isn't a qualification. I know, Lily replied. That's why I brought proof instead. She slid a paper across the table. It was a letter, handwritten, uneven. Ethan picked it up despite himself. To whoever is reading this, it began. My mom works very hard. She thinks I don't notice, but I do. If you give her a chance, I promise she will not waste it. Love, Toa. The room felt smaller. Ethan set the letter down slowly.
Excuse me, do you have a moment
He
to
hadn't
discuss this
expected
proposal?
that. He hadn't expected anything today. You shouldn't involve your child in this, he said, though his voice had softened. I didn't, Lily said. He wrote it while I was asleep. The pause. Somewhere, a phone buzzed. Ethan stood. The interview is over, he said. Lily's face fell, but she rose too. Thank you for your time, she whispered, already turning toward the door. Wait. She froze. Ethan looked at the rain again, then back at her. HR made a mistake. This interview shouldn't have happened. I understand. But, he exhaled, there's a temporary opening downstairs.
Excuse me, do you have a moment to discuss
Lower pay.
this proposal?
No guarantees. Hope flickered in her eyes, fragile as glass. I'll take it, she said instantly. He nodded once. You start Monday. As Lily left the room, clutching her folder to her chest, Ethan sat back down, unaware that this small act of convenience, not kindness, had just opened a door he'd spent years keeping shut, and that the real cost of this decision would reveal itself far sooner than he imagined. Monday arrived without ceremony. No trumpets. No miracles. Just gray morning light spilling into the lower floors of Blackwood Industries, where the carpets were thinner and the windows didn't quite reach the ceiling. Lily stood at the security gate clutching a borrowed blazer, her heart thudding louder than the scanner beep. She'd left Noah with Mrs. Alvarez downstairs, kissed his forehead twice, and promised she'd be back before dinner. Promises were fragile things in her world, but she guarded them fiercely. "Temporary admin," the guard muttered, waving her through. Her desk was wedged between a humming printer and a filing cabinet that smelled faintly of dust and toner. No nameplate, no welcome email, just a stack of folders with red tags marked urgent. "Start with those," a woman named Grace said, already walking away. "If you're fast, you might last."
Excuse me, do you have a
Lily
moment to
nodded.
discuss this proposal?
She always nodded. Then she worked. She worked through lunch, fingers aching as she sorted, labeled, corrected mistakes others hadn't bothered to fix. When she didn't know something, she figured it out. When the printer jammed, she fixed it. When a courier arrived late, she stayed calm and rescheduled. No one noticed at first. Upstairs, Ethan moved through meetings like a machine. Projections. Mergers. A charitable gala he barely remembered approving. His assistant called in sick, and by noon his schedule unraveled into irritation. "Where's the quarterly logistics report?" he snapped. No one answered. By 3, his patience was gone. Get someone, anyone, who can find it. That someone was Lily. She entered the executive floor hesitantly, clutching the report she'd found misfiled under an outdated vendor code. The doors closed behind her with a soft, final sound. Ethan looked up, already annoyed, then paused. "Ooh," he said. "From the interview." "Yes, sir." He took the report from her hands, flipped through it, brow furrowing. "This is corrected." Yes. Page 12 had a decimal error. It would have skewed the forecast. "The beat. You caught that?" he asked. She nodded. "Numbers calm me." That surprised him. He wasn't sure why. "Who told you to fix it?" "No one," Lily said. "It just needed fixing." Ethan studied her for a moment, really looked this time. The tired eyes. The steady posture. Not asking for praise. Not shrinking either. "Good," he said finally. "You can go." She turned to leave. "Ms. Carter," he added. "Thank you." It was a small thing. Barely a kindness. But Lily felt it all the way down the elevator. If you were standing there, watching someone finally be seen for the first time in a long while, what would you have done? Would you have spoken up, stayed silent, offered help? Be honest, share your thought below. And if you felt that quiet moment matter, tap like, sometimes that's how empathy shows itself. Days passed. Lily learned the building's rhythms, the rush before 9, the lull at 2, the tension when Ethan's door closed too hard. She learned which emails mattered and which didn't. She learned that people often confused loudness with leadership. And slowly, people began to notice her. Grace stopped walking away mid-sentence. A manager asked her opinion, then used it. When Ethan's assistant returned, she found her own workload lighter, organized. One evening as Lily packed up, her phone buzzed. "Mrs. Alvarez." Noah had chest pain. "We're at St. Mary's." The world tilted. Lily didn't remember the elevator ride down. Didn't remember the cab. Only the smell of antiseptic and the way Noah's face looked too pale against the hospital pillow. "I'm okay, Mom," he whispered, brave as ever. She smiled and nodded and held his hand until the doctor explained the tests. Monitoring. Possible surgery sooner than planned. "How much?" Lily asked quietly. The number landed like a blow. Insurance would cover some. Not enough. She returned to work the next day with shadows under her eyes and fear stitched into her breath. She didn't say a word. But Ethan noticed. "You're late," he said, not unkindly. "My son was sick," Lily replied. He paused. "Is he better?" "Not yet." Another pause. Then, "Take the morning if you need it." "I can't afford to," she said before thinking. The truth hung there. Ethan nodded once. "Go." That afternoon, Lily stayed anyway, working faster, sharper, as if effort alone could protect her son. When Ethan passed her desk, he slowed. "Why are you here?" he asked. She didn't look up. "Because I need this job." That answer echoed differently now. He returned to his office, unsettled. That night, at home, he found Noah's letter again, still folded in his jacket pocket. He hadn't meant to keep it. Sleep didn't come easily. The next morning, Ethan made a call, to HR, to finance, to himself. Change rarely announces itself. Sometimes it arrives quietly, disguised as policy, and sometimes it demands a price no one expects. And Lily, unaware of what was unfolding above her, sat at her desk answering emails, believing she was still invisible, believing survival was enough, just as the ground beneath her life began to shift in ways she could never have prepared for. The email arrived at 8:42 a.m., quiet and unassuming, buried between vendor updates and calendar reminders. Subject: contract update. Lily almost ignored it. She clicked only because the sender was HR. Her breath caught as she read. Temporary position revised. Full-time status approved. Salary adjustment effective immediately. Health benefits begin retroactively. For a moment, the words didn't connect to reality. She reread the email, fingers trembling slightly, then checked the sender again, half expecting it to vanish like a cruel glitch. "Grace," she whispered, standing. Can you read this?" Grace scanned the screen, then looked up sharply. "Lily, this is huge." Lily sat back down slowly. Her chest felt tight, not with panic, but something dangerously close to relief. Benefits. Real benefits. The kind that meant hospital bills wouldn't crush her whole life. She didn't cry. Not yet. She just stared at the screen, lips pressed together, as if holding herself still might keep the miracle from changing its mind. Upstairs, Ethan stood by his window, phone still warm in his hand. Finance hadn't argued as much as he'd expected. HR had raised an eyebrow but complied. It was all technically within policy. Exceptions existed for performance-based adjustments. Still, his pulse hadn't slowed. He told himself it was efficiency. Retaining talent. Nothing more. But when Lily passed his office later that day, he noticed the way her shoulders had eased, just a fraction. As if some invisible weight had shifted. That night, Lily sat beside Noah's bed, reading the email aloud in a soft voice, careful not to wake him fully. "So, that means I don't have to quit?" Noah murmured, eyes half open. "No," she smiled, brushing his hair back. "It means I can stay." "And, the doctor?" "We'll manage," she said. For the first time in a long while, the words didn't feel like a lie. Have you ever had someone help you when you had no idea how badly you needed it? If yes, write yes, and share their name below. Sometimes gratitude deserves to be spoken out loud. Weeks passed. Lily's role expanded naturally, like water finding new paths. She anticipated needs before they were voiced. She caught problems early. She learned Ethan's silences, the thoughtful one, the irritated one, the one that meant he'd received bad news. What she didn't know was that Ethan had begun asking questions. Not about her performance. About her life. "Her son," he asked Grace one afternoon. "Heart condition," Grace replied. "Single mom. She doesn't talk about it much." That night, Ethan drove past St. Mary's Hospital without meaning to. He didn't stop. Just slowed at the light, watching families move through sliding doors with bags and tired hope. A memory surfaced, uninvited. His own mother, sitting stiffly in a similar waiting room decades ago, hands folded too neatly. His father's illness had come suddenly. Terminal. The kind of sickness that didn't negotiate. Ethan hadn't been old enough to help. Only to watch. The next day, Lily received a call at noon. Noah's test results were back. Surgery confirmed. Scheduled in 3 weeks. Her hands shook as she hung up. She went to the stairwell because the bathroom felt too public. Sat on the cold step and pressed her forehead to her knees, breathing carefully, silently. She didn't hear the door open. "Miss Carter?" She looked up, startled. Ethan stood a few steps above her, confusion giving way to concern. I'm sorry," she said quickly, standing. "I didn't mean to." What's wrong? He asked. The question was simple. Direct. No room to dodge. My son, Lily said, voice breaking despite her effort. He needs surgery. Soon. Ethan nodded slowly. Is it dangerous? Yes. A pause stretched between them, heavy and human. You should take the rest of the day, he said. I can't keep doing that, she replied, almost pleading. I don't want to be a problem. He frowned. You're not. She laughed softly without humor. Everyone says that. Until I am. Something in that sentence hit him harder than he expected. Lily, he said, using her name for the first time, you matter here. The words surprised them both. She searched his face, unsure whether to believe him. Then she nodded once. Thank you. She took the day off. Ethan returned to his office, unsettled. For years, his world had been clean lines and controlled outcomes. Money could fix most things. Power could fix the rest. But this wasn't something he could solve with a signature. Or was it? He called his assistant. Find me information on pediatric cardiac specialists. The best. Any location? She asked. All of them, Ethan said. He told himself it was research. Curiosity. Old ghosts. But when the list arrived, long and expensive, he stared at it longer than necessary. Downstairs, Lily packed up early, unaware that forces far beyond her desk were turning. Choices being weighed, lines about to be crossed. Because sometimes help doesn't come as kindness. Sometimes it comes as a test. And when it does, it asks a question that changes everything. The meeting invite appeared on Lily's calendar without explanation. 3:30 p.m. Ethan Blackwood. Private. Her stomach tightened as the minutes ticked closer. She replayed every task she'd touched that week, every email she'd sent. Had she made a mistake? Missed something critical? She smoothed her blazer before knocking. Come in, Ethan said. His office felt different this time. Less imposing, more exposed. The afternoon sun cut across the floor, dust visible in its path. Ethan didn't gesture for her to sit right away. He studied her, as if deciding how to begin. Your son's surgery, he said finally. It's scheduled? Yes, Lily replied, cautious. In 3 weeks. And the cost? She hesitated. I'm handling it. That wasn't the question. Lily met his eyes. I don't know yet. Ethan nodded, as if he'd expected that answer. He walked back to his desk, picked up a folder, then stopped. When he turned, his voice was measured, but not cold. There's a foundation associated with this company, he said. Quiet. Internal. It helps employees facing medical emergencies. Lily's heart began to race. I didn't apply. You didn't know it existed. That's not. She stopped herself. Pride flared, sharp and defensive. I don't want special treatment. Ethan's jaw tightened. This isn't charity. It's support. You've earned it. She shook her head slowly. People say that when they want to feel better about helping. The honesty surprised him. I'm not trying to feel better, Ethan said. I'm trying to do better. Silence settled between them, fragile and electric. I can't owe you this, Lily said softly. I already owe too much. Ethan exhaled. You don't owe me anything. And if you walk out of here without accepting, the offer doesn't disappear. It just waits. Her eyes glistened, but she blinked the tears back. Why? She asked. Why me? He didn't answer right away. Because someone once helped my family when they didn't have to, he said at last. And because I didn't understand what that meant, until now. Lily sat down slowly, as if her legs had finally given up. I need to think, she whispered. Take all the time you need. She left the office shaken, not with fear, but with the weight of a choice she'd never expected to have. That evening, Lily sat at her kitchen table long after Noah fell asleep. Medical bills spread like a map of everything that could go wrong. She imagined the surgery without help, then imagined accepting Ethan's offer. The relief felt dangerous. The next morning, she brought homemade muffins to Mrs. Alvarez. She stayed late to help Grace finish a report. She held the elevator door for a stranger running late. Small things. Anchors. Now let me ask you something. Outside the story in your real life. What's one small good thing you've done recently, even if no one noticed? Share it below. Sometimes reading kindness reminds us we still belong to each other. Your moment might be exactly what someone needs tonight. At noon, Lily walked back into Ethan's office. I'll accept, she said quietly, but only on one condition. He raised an eyebrow. Which is? That's someday when I can, she said, steady now. I pay it forward. No names. No credit. A slow smile touched his face. Deal. Paperwork moved quickly after that. Specialists were contacted. Appointments shifted. Doors opened that Lily hadn't known how to knock on. But with each step forward came a new discomfort. People started whispering. She's lucky. Must be nice. Connections matter. Lily heard it all. She said nothing. What she didn't see was the email Ethan received late one night, from a board member who'd noticed the unusual expense. We should discuss this. The following week, Ethan was summoned to a closed-door meeting. And for the first time in years, his position, his control, wasn't guaranteed. Because kindness, when it challenges power, rarely goes unpunished. And the cost of doing the right thing was about to come due. The boardroom was colder than usual. Not in temperature, but in tone. Ethan sat at the long glass table, hands folded, listening as numbers were projected onto the wall. Faces he'd known for years looked back at him differently now, measuring, cautious, sharp. This expenditure, one board member said, tapping the screen, was not disclosed in advance. It was within discretionary limits, Ethan replied calmly. For marketing, another voice cut in. Not for individual medical cases. Ethan didn't flinch. The foundation exists for exactly that. A pause followed. The kind that felt rehearsed. Perception matters, the chairman said. Employees talk. Investors notice patterns. This could be seen as favoritism. Ethan leaned forward slightly. Or it could be seen as leadership. Silence again, thicker this time. We're voting, the chairman said, on whether this falls outside acceptable use of authority. The words landed cleanly. Too cleanly. Downstairs, Lily worked through the afternoon unaware of what was unfolding above her. She was on the phone with a specialist's office, scribbling notes, heart pounding, not with fear, but fragile hope. Yes, she said. Thank you. That time works. She hung up and pressed her pen to her lips, breathing out slowly. The surgery date was confirmed. That evening, she stopped by the hospital chapel, not to pray exactly, just to sit somewhere quiet. Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. We need to talk tomorrow morning. Her stomach twisted. The next day, he didn't call her into his office. He met her in the break room instead, coffee in hand, tie loosened. I won't keep you long, he said. She nodded, bracing. There was a board review, Ethan continued. About the foundation support. Lily's face drained of color. I didn't ask you to. I know, he said gently. This isn't on you. But, she whispered, but they don't like it. And they're questioning my judgment. Her chest tightened. Are you in trouble? Ethan smiled faintly. Define trouble. She shook her head. You shouldn't risk your job for me. He studied her, then said something she didn't expect. I already did. The truth of it hung between them, raw and undeniable. I never wanted to be the reason, Lily began. You're not the reason, Ethan interrupted. You're the reminder. Of what? Of who I used to be, he said quietly. Before the money. Before the armor. She didn't know what to say. If the board pushes this, he continued, there may be consequences. For you? She asked. For me, he confirmed. Lily swallowed hard. Then I'll give it back. Ethan's eyes sharpened. No. I can't let you. Lily, he said firmly, your son's health is not a bargaining chip. Tears filled her eyes despite her effort. This was supposed to help, not hurt you. He softened. Sometimes doing the right thing costs something. That doesn't make it wrong. She nodded, but the weight settled heavily on her shoulders. That afternoon, rumors spread faster than facts. People sensed tension. Meetings were closed. Door stayed shut. Grace pulled Lily aside. Is everything okay? Lily forced a smile. I think so. But she didn't believe it. That night, Ethan sat alone in his office long after the building emptied. The city glowed beneath him, indifferent and endless. His phone buzzed, a message from the chairman. We'll reconvene tomorrow. Be prepared. He looked at Noah's letter again, edges worn now. He thought about the chapel. About his mother's hands folded too neatly in a waiting room long ago. He didn't regret the choice. But regret wasn't the same as consequence. The next morning, the board meeting was brief. A formal warning. A note placed in his record. No removal. Not yet. But the message was clear. Limit your reach. Ethan accepted it without protest. When Lily heard, relief and guilt crashed into each other. She found him later that day, standing by the window. I'm sorry, she said. He shook his head. Don't be. You shouldn't have had to pay for this. He turned to her. I paid for worse things before. At least this one mattered. Her voice trembled. I don't know how to thank you. He thought for a moment. Make sure your son lives a full life. That'll be enough. Lily nodded, tears slipping free at last. If that moment pressed against your heart the way it did mine, leave a red heart below. Some feelings are too heavy for words, and that little symbol can say, I felt this too. Outside, the world moved on, unaware that a line had been crossed, that power had bent just enough to let humanity through. But the hardest part still lay ahead. Because the surgery day was coming. And no amount of money or courage could promise how it would end. The morning of the surgery arrived too quietly. No thunder. No warning. Just pale sunlight slipping through the hospital windows as Lily walked beside Noah's gurney, her hand wrapped around his like it was the only solid thing left in the world. You'll be right here when I wake up, right? Noah asked, trying to sound brave. I won't move, Lily said, smiling even as her chest burned. Not even an inch. He nodded, trusting her completely. That trust terrified her more than anything. When the nurses wheeled him through the double doors, Lily's strength collapsed in on itself. She stood there long after the doors closed, staring at the small sign that read authorized personnel only, as if she could will it to open again. Ethan arrived 10 minutes later. No suit. No entourage. Just a dark coat and tired eyes. You didn't have to come, Lily said when she noticed him. I know, he replied. But I wanted to. They sat together in the waiting room, not speaking much. The clock ticked too loudly. A child cried somewhere down the hall. Coffee went untouched. Hours passed. At one point, Lily's phone buzzed with a message from work. She didn't read it. None of that mattered here. Her mind spiraled instead, through memories of Noah learning to ride a bike, through nights she'd held him through fevers, through every promise she'd made that she might not get to keep. What if he doesn't wake up? She whispered suddenly. Ethan didn't answer right away. When my father went into surgery, he said quietly, I was 12. They told us it was routine. Lily looked at him. He didn't make it, Ethan continued. And for years I blamed everyone. The doctors. The hospital. Myself. Her breath caught. I didn't know. Most people don't, he said. I don't talk about it. She swallowed. How did you forgive them? He stared at the floor. I didn't. Not for a long time. The words hung heavy between them. So let me ask you, be honest with yourself for a moment. If you were in that place of pain, could you forgive after something like that? Type, forgive, if you think you could, or never if it would break you too deeply. There's no right answer, only truth. The surgeon finally appeared just after noon. His mask hung loose around his neck, eyes tired but focused. The surgery was complex, he said. Lily's heart stopped. But successful. The world rushed back into her lungs all at once. He's stable, the doctor continued. The next 24 hours are critical, but he did very well. Lily collapsed into the nearest chair, sobbing openly now, hands covering her face. Ethan sat beside her, silent, present. When Noah was moved to recovery, Lily stood by his bed, watching his chest rise and fall. Machines beeped softly, rhythmically, proof of life. He made it, she whispered. Ethan nodded. He did. But relief, Lily would soon learn, doesn't erase exhaustion. Or fear. Or the quiet aftermath of nearly losing everything. Over the next 2 days, Lily barely slept. She watched every monitor, jumped at every sound. When Noah finally opened his eyes, groggy and confused, she laughed and cried at the same time. I told you I'd be here, she said. He smiled weakly. You didn't move. No, she said. Not an inch. Ethan visited once more, standing at the doorway, giving them space. Noah noticed him and waved faintly. Mom, he whispered, that's the man from your work. Yes, Lily said. Thank you, Noah said simply. Ethan's throat tightened. He nodded once and left before emotion betrayed him. But life doesn't pause for gratitude. 3 days later, Lily returned home, grateful, drained, and still afraid of the future. Bills would come. Recovery would take months. And the board's scrutiny hadn't disappeared. At work, things felt different. People were careful around her now. Kinder maybe, but distant. Like they didn't know where she fit anymore. And Ethan? He was quieter. More guarded. Until one afternoon, when Lily was called into HR. The meeting was brief. Polite. Smiling. Due to restructuring, the representative said, your position will be reassessed. Lily felt the floor tilt. Reassessed how? She asked. The woman folded her hands. We'll let you know. When Lily left the room, her hands shook harder than they had in the operating wing. She found Ethan immediately. They're going to let me go, she said, voice breaking. Aren't they? Ethan looked at her, conflict written across his face. I don't know yet, he admitted. But they both felt it. Because sometimes the hardest part of surviving the storm is realizing the shelter might not last. And the final test of power, forgiveness, and hope was about to begin. The reassessment didn't take long. 2 days later, Lily was called back to H. Same room. Same polite smiles. This time, Ethan was already there, standing near the window with his hands in his pockets. That alone told her everything. We've reviewed the structure, the HR representative said smoothly. And while your performance has been exceptional, the role you occupy is complicated. Lily nodded slowly. Her chest felt hollow, like she'd already started letting go. The company is offering a severance package, the woman continued, and extended health coverage through the end of the year. Lily glanced at Ethan. He didn't look at her, not yet. I understand, Lily said quietly. The HR representative seemed relieved. Papers were slid across the table. Explanations followed. Lily heard almost none of it. When it was over, she stood. Thank you for the opportunity. She left before her voice could break. In the hallway, Ethan caught up to her. Lily. It's okay, she said quickly, forcing a smile. Really? I knew this might happen. This isn't fair, he said. She stopped walking. Fair doesn't keep a child alive, she replied gently. You already did that. They stood there, surrounded by passing employees pretending not to look. I'll write you recommendations, Ethan said. Personally. Anywhere you want. I know, Lily said. And I'm grateful. More than you realize. A beat passed. You changed things here, he said. She shook her head. No. I think I just reminded you of something that was already there. That night, Lily packed up her desk in silence. No speeches. No dramatic goodbyes. Grace hugged her tightly. You deserved better, Grace whispered. Lily smiled sadly. Maybe this was better. Just temporary. At home, Noah was propped up on pillows, coloring slowly. Did you quit? He asked, perceptive as ever. I finished, Lily said. That job helped us when we needed it most. He thought for a moment. So, we're okay? She kissed his forehead. We're okay. And for the first time, she truly believed it. A week passed. Then another. Lily applied everywhere. Schools, clinics, nonprofits. She went on interviews with the same steady calm she'd learned under pressure. Doors opened slowly. Meanwhile, Ethan faced his own reckoning. The board meeting that followed Lily's departure was quieter. Less hostile. Almost curious. You let her go, the chairman said. Problem solved. Ethan didn't answer immediately. No, he said finally. The problem remains. We just hit it again. Silence. I've been thinking, Ethan continued, about what leadership actually looks like, and about what kind of company we claim to be. A board member scoffed lightly. This again? Ethan stood. I'm proposing a formal expansion of the foundation. Transparent. Accountable. Employee first. Murmurs spread. You're risking precedent, someone warned. I'm correcting one, Ethan replied. The vote wasn't unanimous. But it passed. Change rarely happens loudly. Sometimes it slips through a crack left by compassion. 2 weeks later, Lily received an email. Subject: New opportunity. It wasn't from Ethan. It was from the foundation, now public-facing, now real. They wanted her to help run it. She stared at the screen for a long time before calling. You don't have to say yes, Ethan said on the phone. I want to, Lily replied. But only if this isn't about fixing guilt. He smiled, even though she couldn't see it. It's about fixing systems. She accepted. On her first day back, different floor, different title, Lily stood by the window and watched the city breathe. Not as someone desperate to survive it, but as someone finally part of shaping it. Noah's recovery continued. Slowly. Steadily. Hope took root in ordinary moments. Homework at the table, shared dinners, laughter returning without fear attached. And Ethan? He learned to loosen his grip. To listen more than command. To lead without hiding behind glass walls. If you believe that hope can still rise after everything breaks, comment in below. Let's fill this space with a little light, because someone reading this right now might be standing exactly where Lily once stood. The world didn't become perfect, but it became kinder in small, measurable ways. And sometimes, that's how redemption begins. Not with applause, but with a quiet decision to keep going. The foundation's office didn't look like power. There were no marble floors, no towering windows, no silent intimidation humming in the walls. Just warm light, second-hand desks, and a steady flow of people who carried their lives in folders and trembling hands. Lily fit there naturally. She listened more than she spoke. She remembered names. She never rushed anyone, even when the line grew long. When a mother cried at her desk, Lily didn't interrupt. She slid a tissue closer and waited until the tears finished saying what words couldn't. Ethan watched it all from a distance at first. This wasn't his world anymore. Or maybe it never had been. One afternoon, he stopped by unannounced. Lily was helping a young man fill out paperwork, explaining benefits slowly, carefully. Take your time, she said. There's no deadline on being human. Ethan felt something loosen in his chest. Later, when the office quieted, Lily finally noticed him standing by the door. You're early, she said. I wanted to see this, he replied. Not reports. This. She smiled. It's heavier than spreadsheets. I know, he said. That's why it matters. They stood by the window together. Outside, the city moved the way it always had. Rushed, indifferent, alive. How's Noah? Ethan asked. Running again, Lily said, pride warming her voice. Doctor says he'll be playing soccer by spring. Ethan nodded, eyes distant for a moment. I'm glad. Me too. A comfortable silence settled between them. Not the kind filled with unspoken tension, but the kind earned after surviving something together. You know, Lily said quietly, for a long time I thought strength meant never asking for help. Ethan glanced at her. Now I think, she continued, it means knowing what you do with help once you get it. He smiled. You did more than survive. So did you, she replied. Months passed. The foundation grew. Policies changed. Stories multiplied, quiet ones, never on the news but real. People helped without being seen. Systems bent just enough to let grace through. And Lily? She no longer felt like someone who had borrowed hope. She carried it. One evening, as she tucked Noah into bed, he looked up at her and asked, Mom, are we lucky? She thought about the fear. The hospital lights. The choices that could have gone another way. Yes, she said finally. But we're also kind. And that counts more. Down the street, in an apartment that felt less empty than it once had, Ethan folded Noah's old letter one last time. Not to hide it away, but to place it in a frame on his desk. Not as a reminder of power, but of purpose. If this story moved you, don't scroll past quietly. Tap like, not for me, but for the soul who carried this pain and still chose kindness. For Lily. For Noah. For anyone who had to be strong before they were ready. One click can be your way of saying, I felt you. Because the real moral was never about money. It was about seeing someone, before the world teaches you not to. And choosing, again and again, to act like it matters.